And the MPs for their thoughts on this and the other issues of the day. Conservative Stella Ambler is from nearby Mississauga, at least nearby to that particular riding. NDP Jinny Sims is from faraway Delta, BC, and Yvonne Jones of the Liberals is from spectacular and really far away Labrador. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, Don.
Stella, I got to get your thoughts on this nomination fight. I always wonder whether Dimitri Sotis, now that he's quit allegedly to go off and help Eve Adams win this nomination, he's got a pretty unfair advantage going in. Should he be prevented from being involved in this nomination fight, in your view?
I haven't spoken to either one of them about it, but I do, if I might, just address the last point that that you were asking Natalia about, and that would be the use of taxpayer-funded direct mail pieces. I want to say that I think that all MPs have to follow the rules, and that I know that Eve has said that she is following the rules, but I want to make it clear that I believe and that we believe that anyone that hasn't done that has to be held to account, because ultimately we want to make sure that it is a fair fight, and that this race, that the fact that the race is open and fair, it shows that our Prime Minister, our party, has insisted that all of our nominations be open and fair, and this one is. And so I think when it was looking like it wasn't going to be fair, that's when action was taken.
Is it fair to do that? Like, I don't know whether is the law, does the party rules allow her to use self-promotion literature in a riding that she's not even representing?
It's really not about party rules. These are parliamentary rules that we're talking about.
Is she breaking those?
I know that we are allowed to mail anywhere, but it's not really up to me to decide. I don't exactly know what was done. So I think if someone's looking into it, all I would say is, look, let's make sure that the rules were followed, and if they weren't, let's make sure that that person doesn't.
Jinny Sims, was this an unfair fight that's now been corrected in your view?
You know, when we're looking at what's happening with nominations, whether it's the Liberals or the Conservatives, what they have said about open and fair and transparent nominations, we're finding out whether it's in Calgary or whether it's in Greater Ontario, Toronto, and that there are some issues and that the commitment just isn't there. Both the parties and both my friends sitting on either side of me, their leaders have spoken about open, fair, transparent, but there's been some, I would say, not so open and not so transparent issues, and Trinity Spadina is another prime example. On the other hand, I will say that we're very open and committed to open nominations, and we are very, very clear about that, and I haven't heard of any of the same kind of tussles.
See that? She's got the right, she's wearing the halo on this one. What's your take, Yvonne Jones?
Well, first of all, I think our party has a very open, transparent nomination process. I've
Unless
been involved
in
a couple of them, and they certainly seem that way to me. Yeah. But I think what you're seeing in this case with the Conservatives is, like most things you see, is a lot of chaos. There's a lot of corruption. Someone gets fired, and usually that's the saga that we're seeing following the Prime Minister and his government these days. So what's happening inside the party and nominations is absolutely no different from where I sit.
All right, I want to move along. Government jets. This is a sexy topic. People don't like the government's flying around on jets. Alison Redford basically got kicked out of office in Alberta for using a government jet too much. Yvonne Jones, the NDP proposes a motion which says you only use it for government business, only people who have government business to do it, and that's it. End of line. I guess we have a clip from this, right? Let's listen to a clip from the House of Commons today.
It's more than that.
Mark Kinn is a Conservative Party bagman who raised millions of dollars for the Conservative Party and $3.5 million for the Prime Minister personally. By the way, we're all still waiting to see the final list of his donors from his leadership. Isn't it clear that Mark Kinn was invited on the Prime Minister's taxpayer-funded jet as a reward for raising money for the Conservative Party? Can the Prime Minister tell us in good faith that he thinks that there's nothing wrong with that?
As I've said repeatedly, all use of government aircraft for anything other than commercial purposes. I think you know the RCMP requires me to fly on a non-commercial aircraft. Any use of aircraft for non-commercial purposes is reimbursed. And by the way, when an individual's on that is not a parliamentarian or a staff member, we always be sure that's done in a way that it actually lowers the cost of the flight for taxpayers.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't the RCMP that invited a Conservative Party bagman on that flight. It's just a feeling I have.
All right, Jenny, let's get you to just at least frame the motion that's going to the floor. What does it say?
The motion says very simply that the Challenger should be used for business, for government business, unless it's the Prime Minister, because we recognize the safety and security issues, even though that this government questioned whether the Prime Minister should be, when they were in opposition, had questioned whether the Prime Minister needed to travel on the Challenger for private affairs. We haven't questioned that. We've said for safety and security, the family and the Prime Minister, absolutely justifiable, you know, if the RCMP considers so. What we've objected to and what this motion differentiates is those people who are on that plane who are not there for government business. And in this case, we were talking specifically about a man who is a key fundraiser.
All right, that's what Tom Mulcair was talking to. Yvonne Jones, what's unreasonable about that motion?
Well, first of all, I think, you know, everybody will accept the argument that the Prime Minister has to use private transportation because of security issues, and so does his family. I think Canadians respect that, and they accept that. I also believe that they respect and accept the fact that when people travel with the Prime Minister on government business, that would be acceptable, that they would accompany him on a private jet. However, where Canadians fail to see the connection is when the Prime Minister of the country can invite friends, fundraisers, and other people that support the Conservative Party of Canada on board the jet to take free flights on the backs of taxpayers. This is where the system breaks down, and it's unacceptable.
Stella Ambler, what's wrong with either one of their arguments? Seems logical? No?
Well, spending is down 75% on all government
Let's go down
aircraft.
100 then.
Yeah. No, well, then the Prime Minister wouldn't travel. That's just, it's not reasonable. I'm talking about including the Prime Minister's travel on government aircraft, down 75%. This is used when necessary, and then when it's used by the Prime Minister himself, his family, or his and anyone else he takes along on government trips. The expenses are paid for. They are reimbursed. This has never happened before, and this is something that the Prime Minister insisted on from day one, that the costs of the flights be repaid, and this was never done under the Liberals. It's just part of the reason that we were able to reduce expenditures.
Right?
We are. That's why we're paying back the expenses. We're paying them back. We're not just inviting family and friends.
Yeah, but
even the Prime Minister, when he travels on party business, it's paid back.
But it's Stella, we have friends.
Stella,
we have friends. But my friends don't get to use my parliamentary budget to travel with me just because they're good friends. And I'm saying there's a huge difference between the Prime Minister traveling and his family traveling and the bagman for the Conservative Party. And to say that they're going to compensate during the peak Christmas period, $260.
Are you saying
seriously can you really get across Canada?
You don't want the Prime Minister ever to travel with anyone other than his family? Like,
not unless they're there on government business.
That it's government business.
How can it be government business when he's a fundraiser for the Conservative Party?
Really,
come on, let's be true.
What he's doing is wrong, and it's unacceptable,
and
it's a practice that should stop.
All right, I want a quick last thought. There's literally 30 seconds each, if you could. You've got a nice little pay raise. Not huge, 2.2%, $163,000. You're in the House of Commons about 130 days a year, but you're also, I know in your ridings, working very hard. But I just want to be curious, tell the average Canadian why you're worth that kind of money. That puts you in the top 2% of Canadian earners. Jinny Sim.
Well, it makes me very nervous when MPs actually set their own salaries.
Well, they don't
and that's
anymore.
Why,
right? It's a formula.
Well, it's not a formula anymore. Now it goes towards the Board of Internal Economy, and I think that it should be arm's length from us. And right now, it's very hard for public servants to swallow while they're being cut that the MPs are getting a pay increase.
So you shouldn't have got a pay increase?
And at one time it was tied to COLA, to cost of living.
Yeah.
And then now, for MPs to be policing their own salaries seems a bit weird for me from where I sit. But I will also say MPs work incredibly hard, but so do Canadians. So there's...
Yvonne, you're new to this racket, but...
Well, I'm new to this racket, but not new to politics. I'm in my 18th year, and I can tell you I know very few politicians that go into this business because of the paycheck. I mean, they go into it because they work hard. Our schedules are not normal. We don't have normal work days like anyone else. And, you know, so quite often the least benefit and return for us is in terms of our paycheck. The greatest reward I know for most politicians that I've ever met is being able to make changes that improve the lives of people.
Well said. I bet you even agree with her on that.
I was just going to say that was very well said. I do want to say too that it was the Conservative government that ended the gold-plated pensions for members of Parliament. I was happy to support that, and we've gone to a 50-50 model, which I think for pension contributions. So I think Canadians expect that from us, and of course we acknowledge that we're generously paid. Absolutely,
Good.
but
Well,
I would agree. I would agree.
You
that's
three
not
are
where
worth
the
every
rewards
penny.
are.
I'll give you. There might be some up there. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming.